Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are doing the vehicle spotlight. As you can see, we're in the winter season of Forza Horizon 4. Not a big fan of the winter, but I guess it gives me an opportunity to do something a little bit different. Today I'm going to be doing a vehicle spotlight on I believe it's the 2017 Ford Raptor. Um, this is one of the cooler vehicles in the game in my opinion. This is completely stock, and as you can see, the thing looks super hossy. It's just an awesome truck all around. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to be getting into an overview of the entire vehicle, starting with a stock cross-country event. I already have my track picked out, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a test run and judge it on things that it does well, judge it on the things that it doesn't do so well, and then we're going to go ahead and go back into the garage, make some improvements that I think this vehicle is lacking in, and then we're going to go ahead and give it an overhaul. We're going to run it through the same track, and then we're going to give it a rating based on the stock performance, and then we're going to give it a rating based on the tune performance. So I'm going to go ahead and drive it over to the event that I have going, and while I drive it over there, I'm going to give you a quick talk about this, what's going on here. So obviously you can go crazy with every vehicle and you can give it, an S1 or an S2 tune and just make the thing, just fly down the road and be crazy. And in my opinion, that's not the best way to play this game because there is so much that you can do with these vehicles. One of my favorite things to do is find a vehicle that drives well, has a good, decent amount of power, is well balanced, and then actually give it a couple of different performance parts and maybe even get into a little bit of tuning to make it perform a lot better. I think that's a good way to play the game. That way you're not kind of losing focus of what cars are and kind of keeping them stock. I don't want to say stock because obviously it's a game about upgrading your car and making them fun and fast, but keeping them realistic, I guess you could say. Like, sure, it's fun to swap a, Lamborghini V12 into almost every single car in the game and just, go 120 miles an hour down the road. But I like to stray from doing that because it gets kind of boring after a while. So like I said, what we're going to be doing is getting this a test run on a track that I already picked out. This track has good jumps and some, I wouldn't say technical corners. It's actually pretty straightforward. A lot of long sweeping corners. The thing I do like to test is, like I said, the jumping aspect, because when you come down from a jump, if you're landing hard, you're going to have a lot of problems. Obviously, back end's going to kick out, you're going to lose positions, just a lot of bad things in general. So we're going to try and stay away from doing that. And fortunately, this vehicle is one of the better vehicles at landing and staying stable. I'm guessing that's because, as you can see right now, the suspension travel is pretty good. Alright, so this is a event based on, well, as you saw, it was off-road. These are the settings I'm currently playing on. Driver difficulty, unbeatable. Braking, I have ABS on because most modern cars have ABS, and it's really a pain to be downshifting, working on having the clutch in, not locking up your brakes, stuff like that. So I just try to keep it on ABS. Everything else is pretty much off. Steering is completely on simulation. Traction control, stability control off. Manual with clutch. If you're driving on this game using automatic, I'm seriously concerned for your well-being. It is a racing game, so most people like to be playing on manual. At least drive manual. You don't have to use a clutch. Clutch is kind of an optional thing, but come on, it's a racing game. I have the braking line on to show what the game expects the vehicle to be capable of doing, so it doesn't look like I'm, driving slow through corners and stuff like that. I'm actually pushing the vehicle. And also I'm really bad at hairpin turns. So there's that. A damage is off, rewind is off. And like I said, this is on the unbeatable setting, so this gives you a pretty good idea of what you're going up against with a stock tune on this car. So off the line, it's relatively slow. I don't exactly enjoy driving this car completely stock. It does drive good. Like I said, it handles good. It's decently well balanced. It's just, like I said, a little bit on the slow side. And again, for a stock truck, I guess you can't really expect much more. Alright, so approaching our first jump, I'm going to try to keep it as straight as I possibly can, just so I'm not losing my losing control in the air. So that was a relatively easy and flat jump, so it doesn't really give you a good idea of how stable it is when it's landing. This area kind of gives you a good idea of how simple it is to drive this car over, you know, bumps on the terrain. It just goes straight. And again, as you can see, coming out of most corners, other people are pulling away. So that kind of causes a little bit of issues there. I think it is lacking in power quite a bit. I think that's one of its weak points. Like, if you look at it going up the hill, it decreased almost 10 miles an hour. And again, it is a stock truck, and I'm doing 120 miles an hour, but still, I don't think that's exactly ideal for a racing game. And as you can see, right now it's keeping up fairly well with other vehicles as far as, you know, the amount of power it has goes. In my opinion, 5th gear is almost pointless to be using, because at least in a winter race like this, because it's very, very low on power. And again, you can see landing, everyone's kind of losing control down there. This one stayed pretty straight. So as you can see, it didn't really compete very well. It didn't take advantage of anyone in the straightaways, so it kind of lagged behind a little bit. So I think that's the major room that it needs improvement, is the performance, the engine performance. So I posted a time of 2:31, which is actually, well, 2:31.8, so it's about 2 seconds slower than my average lap around this track. So now I'm going to go ahead and take it back to the garage, and I'm going to throw a couple different parts on it to get this thing into a little bit more balanced state, so it's a little bit more fun to drive and a little bit more competitive. So a vehicle like this, you don't really want to get into doing, you know, tires and, you know, engine swaps and stuff like that. Yeah, like I said, sure, it's a whole lot of fun to put, you know, some crazy performance stuff in this, but I don't think it's really that enjoyable at that rate. It's all-wheel drive, so obviously we don't need to switch it back to two-wheel drive. I think that'd be kind of counterproductive in this sense. I'm going to go ahead and put the upgraded bumper on it because it's pretty badass. Spare tire in the back. It's actually extra weight I don't want. Same with the front bumper, but hey, it looks cool. Like I said about tires, it really, really ups the class. So when you get into doing things like upgrading tires, you're going to have to spend a little bit more time and money picking out performance parts, and I don't really want to spend time doing that. I am going to give it a little bit wider tires because we're doing a little bit more power. Rims, I usually like to go with a multi-piece rim. Oh, here we go. Yeah, these aren't the best looking rims ever, but paint them black, they look pretty sweet. I'm going to give them a little 18s because the 17s are a little bit too small for my liking. Alright, and as far as the drivetrain and all that stuff, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't shift real slow. It's pretty responsive shifting. This stuff is, again, not super important, at least not for this thing. Brakes are fine. It's an off-road vehicle. It's not doing any crazy corners, and if it is, I'm willing to kind of cut the corner with brakes. It's not a big deal. Rally suspension literally changes nothing, just gives you a tuning option, which I'm not really going to get into with this truck. There's obviously some weight reduction, because weight reduction is just a good way to get into increasing performance. It's one of the things that makes a big change. For the actual like engine performance, pretty basic stuff. I'm gonna do intake, injectors, exhaust, more aggressive cam. I don't know. I'll do valves too. I'm guessing this is probably valve springs. I don't want to do anything with turbos. I'll give it a bigger intercooler, just to give a little bit more power. And then I'll do a flywheel. It's gonna help. I don't know, in this game that actually makes a difference, but usually it helps shifting responsiveness. So I will show you the basket that I have picked out here. As you can see, these are parts already picked out and owned. An upgrade like this would cost around $30,000, which for this game, it's not that much. So I pretty much already explained everything. So I'm going to go ahead and check out. And then as you can see, it increased the horsepower a little bit. It's about 100 more horsepower, which I think this vehicle needs. A little bit less weight, so it's going to help it move a little bit better. Lateral G's really doesn't matter in this class of off-road vehicle. If I was going to a higher class, I might consider doing a little bit more with that, but it's alright. As far as designs and paint go, I'm just going to go with a nice white. I think this truck looks really, really good in white. And then I'm going to paint the rims black. And then tint the windows out, because almost all cars look better with window tint. Alright, this is the new and improved Ford Raptor. As you can see, it's a little bit different looking, not by much. Obviously the bumper and the rims are the most noticeable, and the paint, I guess I should say. So overall, I think this truck's going to be a lot better. Like I said, it's got about 100 more horsepower, so it's going to help out quite a bit as far as straight line performance and being able to keep up with people through corners. So, and again, I'm not tweaking so much that I have to, retune the entire suspension or anything like that. It's just enough to get it going better in the direction that you want it to go in. It still handles pretty much the same, still sounds pretty much the same, still accelerates pretty much the same, and that's really what I'm looking for here. Alright, and again, difficulty settings, nothing has changed, it's all the same. And we're going to ahead and launch the event. So as you can see, the performance is relatively similar. It's keeping up with the pack a little bit better, especially when they're running into each other at the start. So you're not pulling away from anyone at crazy speeds, and a nice thing is that, like I said, you're actually keeping up. So, and same as before, whoa, someone's not having a good day. You can see it going over this terrain, it handles fairly well. These next couple corners will kind of give you a good show. So again, pretty easy to control. It bounces around a little bit, but the suspension's pretty forgiving. So I guess this is a big comparison. You'll see it still loses speed, not as much, and it was going a little bit faster up that hill than last time. So and again, we're catching people on straightaways. It's again not too hard to handle through kind of bumpy off-road corners. And then once again, this jump is a good indicator of how well it handles when it lands, which is pretty good. Didn't spin off in any crazy directions, landed very flat and straight. And then unlike last race, we were able to overtake fairly easily the first and second place drivers. So there you go, first place. Again, with a little bit of tuning and a little bit of adjustment, it's a lot easier to drive. That's about 9 seconds faster than the last race, which, again, $30,000 for 9 seconds. That's just kind of how racing is in general. I'd say that's a pretty good improvement. It's actually something that now competes well and is, a little bit customized, but still very stock. So again, the truck as a whole, I would say the biggest problem it has is lacking in power. Stock. Overall, compared to the rest of the vehicles in the game, I would give an overall rating of, I'm not going to go with all vehicles. I'm going to go with specifically off-road vehicles. I'd probably give this, for its completely bone stock, a 6 out of 10. Obviously, there's a lot of cars that will be better at competing. It's just not that fun to drive, and I feel like that's a big, big problem that this truck has stock. After doing upgrades and giving it a little bit more power and making it look a little bit more my own, I'd give it more. I'd say around an 8 as far as it's a little bit more fun to drive. It Where it's lacking, it's now doing good, and it still competes well. It's still easy to drive. So thanks for watching, and this has been my 2017 Ford Raptor uh, vehicle spotlight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.